Hello. Oh, all right, guys. Well, I am live, and well, let me go through the rigmarole of the pipe, not the pipe, the housekeeping as of right now. So, right now, I am smoking my Peterson Dublin Dairy 606 rusticated. That I got this up in Georgia. Hey, what's up there, Dakota? How you doing? I was hoping you're going to be here. I had a question for you. Now I can't remember what it was. I'll ask you in a second. Hey, what's up there, Tom? How we doing, brother? Uh, so, like I said, I'm smoking my Peterson rusticated Dublin Dairy. On top of it, I got this light better. I'm smoking some ephemeris, uh, Virginia. This is from a small tobacco and pipe shop in Alabama called the Briary, and I saw a video from the guys that what they call it, idiots with class. I think really good video where they interviewed the owner of it, and he makes his own blends there. And what was really interesting is I don't know. He had such high praise for this. I just got it in the mail the other day, and this is the second time smoking it. Yeah, it's really good, Dakota. And as far as it's got red, yellow, and stove Virginia in it. It's been aged for 3 months, and when I take it out and smell it, I mean, I had some notes on it. Right off the bat, the first time I smelled it was like figs, raisins, and like caramel apple is with this. And so of course I plugged in the pipe, and I think I heard you talking about. Oh man, I tell you what, it's good Virginia, man. Um, and I heard you guys talking about tastings the other night, Dakota, at the in the after party, and was like, okay, trying to figure out some stuff. So I started researching a little bit on how to taste pipe tobacco a little more effectively. Um, so what's interesting is this ephemeris is the first pipe tobacco that I've smoked that I can actually, okay, it had such a different flavor profile. And I'm making sure not to, of course, smoke hot. Hey, what's up, Brian? Hey, awesome, brother. So I'm making sure not to smoke too hot. Um, and the only thing I could really get off this, and I've got to train my palate a little bit, is a little breadiness. And I was tasting something the other day. So all I've really gotten out of tasting the pipe tobaccos so far, flavor profiles for me, I've really gotten pepper on some of them. I've gotten, of course, this breadiness and maybe just a hint of citrus. So I'm really got to dig into it because like I used to do a ton of wine tastings, um, trying, brother. I did, and I've done a bunch of bourbon tastings. So, and I've actually hosted a bunch of bourbon tastings. So I really do enjoy figuring out uh, profiles on here, and I think as far as if you're tasting pipe tobacco, and I don't have a lot of experience, but I think the one main thing for me that I found, and if I'm wrong, check me on it. Just don't smoke hot, because the moment that you smoke anything hot, everything's going to get a little tongue bite. It's just going to ruin any kind of flavor that's coming out. So it's kind of nice. It's even trained me to smoke my pipe even slower. Very nice. Well, speaking of bourbon, oh, that's what you were talking about, Dakota. You guys were talking about the other night the Buffalo Trace, what you guys are buying it for, where you're at, and you were saying it was like 48, $50 or something like that. Down here, I can get it for about $26 to $28, and it's everywhere. I mean, it's like you can go pick it up; it's all over. So it's kind of nice. But that being said, I'm drinking something kind of special tonight. Um, I've got this Hooten Young um, Jack Carr 16-year bourbon, special edition. I'm a big Jack Carr fan. I've read all of his books. Hey, what's up, Dave? How you doing, brother? Yep, yeah, he is. Yep, he's an ex-Delta guy, and so is that fellow that. Yeah, I want to check his cigars out as well. Um, what's interesting about this is I had it once, and of course, sometimes when you write it right when you open a bottle, it might take a little bit of time to kind of work itself out. And but what's interesting about this one, boys, is that this is you look at if you know what a mash bill is, you've got bourbons can be made out of all kinds of different grains. And a lot of the mash bills that I find that I like is like 70% corn, like 20% rye, and then maybe 10% malt. And this is interesting because this is 99% corn and 1% malt. So this is basically hooch that they stuck in a barrel for 16 years. And so it's something. Oh, Dakota, you know Cooks? Oh man, that's awesome. This is 125 proof. Doesn't have much of a nose. Really sweet up front with some honey. And then that's really about it, man. Doesn't really finish that well. So, but it seems to be pairing well with the ephemeris, and I'm enjoying it. So it's a good time. So, hope everyone's doing really well tonight. Believe it or not, my brother's supposed to be here somewhere. He might pop on a little bit. I hope he does. Oh yeah, that Hooten Young's dynamite, brother. Yeah. Well, I hadn't been too impressed with the Hooten Young until like I opened that a couple months ago, had it, and I was like, oh, this is not that great. And I was a little disappointed. And then I pulled it out again tonight and got a little oxidated and got a little sweeter and calmed down a little bit. So right now it's actually not bad, and I'm enjoying it. So so to have that with this new with this ephemeris tobacco that's really giving me kind of a good bready flavor. So it's mixing, and so I'm getting this honey bread and stuff. It's really cool. I'm really enjoying it. But as you guys saw on my video, or on the let's just call it the ad for this, I was going to, of course, talk about my pipe, talk about the bourbon, what I'm going through. But I had a question from one of the fellas about, yeah, it does need to open up, brother. Absolutely. And it did open up. So I had a question from one of the subs of Dave Gas. He'd like to hear a little bit about how I got into all the mustache wax and what my story behind that was. And then after that, if you guys feel like it, I was going to touch a little bit more on that, the modern versus legacy furniture. I mean, it's really fire related, but and we talked about, or at least talked about in the last video, or that not the last one, second to last, about the correlation between these crappy ideologies and crappy materials, and but if we get there and that's really not flowing, then we'll just go through a Q&A and do that, and then we'll BS for a little bit and call it a night. So one question really quick. I'm working with the lighting and everything. I look a little grainy on my video. How does that look? Am I grainy, or is it kind of coming out clear? I know you guys want to see how beautiful I am, but just didn't know if you guys, this was that bad. Um, Cooks, man, you're awesome. Anyhow, so the story about how I got into kind of grainy. Okay, fair enough. Just a bit grainy here. Okay, I'll uh, I'll keep working on this, boys, and get a little better. I think actually last week was a little better. I only had one light last week, and I got two tonight, and I'm playing with it, and I'm not happy with it either. But I appreciate you guys hanging in there and taking a look, and then I promise you, as it goes on, that things will get better and better. Oh, cool. Thanks, B. Um, so as far as how I got into the mustache wax and stuff, when I was on the fire department, I'd probably say, 75% of the time I had a mustache. And normally I had a big old Fu Manchu. I mean, I do it, the guy from West Coast Choppers. What's that? The forget his name. He was the father, and he had the mustache, the Fu that went all the way down. I would try to grow mine as much like that as I could, and as much as I could get away with it until I got hit with SOPs. Paul, that's it. Paul Tuttle, right? That's it. Um, I would grow my mustache like that until once somebody would catch me on it, and then I'd have to go trim it. Even have to trim it at work. Sometimes they'd be like, "Hey, brother, the seal on your mask is not going to work, so you got to make sure that you get that taken care of." But a lot of the times, I push it anyhow. So when I would go buy mustache wax, and I rarely had like now I rarely had handlebars. So but nonetheless, I wanted my mustache to lay down because I got really thick hair, and so I started buying mustache wax, and needless to say, I actually think mine's priced pretty well, but it was pretty expensive, and I would go and buy a little bit, use a bunch, and then I really wouldn't be happy with one, wouldn't be happy with the other. Leaf, what's up, brother? But I always used it to kind of make my mustache lay down flat. And so I said, I opened it up one day and was like, I can do this. I can figure this out. So, first started doing a little research and started putting some stuff together. And I came up with my own mustache wax. Now, just because I could make a bunch of it. And it actually, the bunch of it cost less than buying a couple of cans. So I started making a bunch and I started giving it away. And I did that. On my cans, it says established 2019. I probably more like 2016, but 2019 is when I started really kind of handing them out. So 2019 started handing them out for free, and handing them out for free continued until I was until I retired, and just kept going. But I was enjoying retirement, and I don't know if you've seen some of my videos, but I was enjoying my retirement. But I lost a lot of purpose and lost, a lot of drive. You think it's all going to be puppy dogs and rainbows when you're out, and in a lot of ways it is. But I just needed something to push me forward and need something new. So I went ahead and I talked to a buddy of mine, Dominic from DVI Bushcraft. He and I were on the ladder truck together. And he's like, brother, man, you've been making that mustache wax for forever. Why don't you start that? And I was like, wow, zing, let's go. So I started doing that. And that was, I started knocking away at it a year ago. And when I mean knocking away, like I created an LLC and I had to move through and do, and it was nerve wracking because I really didn't know what I was doing. I still don't. But so it really took me from February until about June before I really started putting anything out. And so before I got like the website going, but my whole shtick has been to have a mustache wax dedicated to first responders and military. And that's where my original flavors came from. And but if you look, I tried to think of names and flavors or scents for each thing I had that I could be that I could associate with the job. So the first one I did was, of course, OldManCopper Smoke Eater. Oopsie. And Smoke Eater, this stuff is crazy because I found some tar stuff, some oil that smells exactly like a structure fire. I used to have. Yeah, hell yeah. That's awesome, brother. Thank you. Thank you so much, man. That's it. That's the best thing I could hear. It's that you loved it. Um, but what's interesting about Smoke Eater is it smells just like a structure fire. So I marketed that to firemen, of course, and anybody can have it. But what ended up happening was, well, I'll go through these and I'll tell you a little story about what happened once I started getting up there. So that Smoke Eater smells like a structure fire, really does. Then I have um, got the OldManCopper Trauma Junkie, and this is for the paramedic. What's my thought process? Of course, I talk about a theme for each smell. Of course, the OldManCopper Smoke Eater, fireman, structure fire. The Trauma Junkie for the menthol scent was, I know from my experience, I'd go on a welfare check or a Signal 7, and you'd get up to the door to go check on somebody, and there would just be 100,000 flies. Um, did they really? Brian, they got overly excited. But I would go, and you go to force the door, and when there's a million flies on the window, you pretty much know someone on the inside is gone. And you open that up, and it just the smell of a body that's been decaying for, excuse me, guys, but for a good amount of time. It's not fun, and you can't. Hey, what's up, Dave? I'm talking about. I'm filling in your question. That's Dave. He actually was the one that asked this question. But the Smoke Eater or the Trauma Junkie smells like menthol, so it's got a strong scent. Where I took eucalyptus and I took mint and mixed those together, and it smells like Vicks Vapor Rub. Kind of a calm. Now, if you take a big bunch of it and goop it in there, it's just like Vicks Vapor Rub. If you go and you put a little bit in and you brush it through, it's a nice minty, fresh smell. It's excellent. But that's what I associated a lot of the medical calls that I go on. Of course, bad smells and everything. And I could tell you guys a story tonight that would just absolutely freaking not knock your socks off, you make you vomit. And if you want to hear it, I'll tell it here in a second. The last scent, but then this is the third in the series, was Asphalt Operator, and that's what Leaf was talking about. This is a scent of leather and cedar. Really, of course, you got your leather gun belt, you got your leather holster, you got your clubs and everything, and it was just a really masculine scent that I associated with the police officers that I worked with quite a bit. And I think I told you guys at the end of my career, I did cause and origin investigations and arson investigations, so I worked with the police quite a bit, and those scents really kind of sunk in. So what else happened? My other product that I came up with, and that's why I'm Wax Goods, not just Mustache. And yeah, brother, you like that, Dakota? You digging that one? But so I'm a big fan of knives. Good Lord, I got to quit knocking that up. So I'm a big fan of knives. I've got two favorite knife makers right now. Of course, Hobo Forge and Survival, Jason Smith over at Hobo Forge. The guy makes incredible knives. He's a retired Delta guy, and just a hell of a nice guy. I'm taking that blacksmith class from him next week. And so I started buying his knives, and I absolutely love them. But back when I didn't even know he existed, but when I retired, a gift to myself was a Blue Ridge Hunter Winkler knife with a tiger maple handle. And when I bought that knife, it came with a small 1/2 ounce tin of this blade balm. And of course, I'm into making my stuff. So I went, hey man, I can make that too. So I started my own um, line of blade balm. Whoops, there it goes. Hello. And what was really interesting about the blade balm was right when everything started moving, um, I ended up talking with Jason Smith over Hillville Forge, loving his knives, and I told him through a friend, and we got to talking that I made this, and he's like, "Well, send me a little bit and let me see what I think." So I sent him over a bunch of blade balm and some other stuff, and he absolutely loved the blade balm. And now every time Jason sends out one of his knives, my stuff goes with it, similar to what Winkler does with their stuff. Jason does with mine, and I've been extremely blessed that Jason has wanted me to do that for him, because he's a hell of a guy to be, on the coattails of, and I enjoy it. I mean, coattails is not the right way to say it, but I think you guys know. And then, as I've progressed, I've had a bunch of other stuff. Night Raid, which they've used them all. So I say this without reason. No shit. That's awesome, brother. Thanks, B. That means a lot coming from you, man. Hope you didn't have a rough shift yesterday, by the way. But of course, I got my Night Raid. I got them all. And of course, I've got a coconut scented one, which is, reminds me of when I go to the beach. But I made a coconut beach and a pine, mountain pine one, because when I was really stressed out, those are two places I like to go. So I associated that with, I associated those places with the job. So that's why I made a mustache scent out of it. And then, of course, I did flapjacks, because my daughter and I were having breakfast one day, and we were eating some flapjacks. I said, "Good Lord, that smells good. I'd like to have that," because I got some maple crap in my mustache from eating it. And I said, I smelled that shit all day. And I said, "It's awesome." So, yeah, so that's what's interesting. I got a solid bug repellent. My daughter wanted me to make some blade balm or some lip balm, so I made some lip balm under Violet Willow, and that's my daughter's name. And then I've got the wood balm coming out here next week, along with Copper's pipe, which is going to be a cherry pipe tobacco scented beard balm. All the flavors have, of course, big brothers, and I say big brothers. Every mustache has a beard balm, but the beard balms are 4 ounces, where the mustaches are 1. Needless to say, though, the only difference is the smoke eater is so strong as a smoke scent on the mustache that I actually backed it off a little bit, so people would actually buy it, because it's very selected. You know what I mean? Only a certain crowd really wants it. So I mixed in some leather with that, and so it's a smoky leather scent, and it's come out friggin' absolutely down on the beard balm. But it's been awesome. But as far as what happened when I started, a gentleman fireman in Arizona, he has a podcast, the Copper State Fireman's Podcast, and he's really big over there. And he bought some of the stuff, and he got it, of course. And I sent him an email, because I like to send an email out for anybody that buys the stuff, see how they're doing. I'm not good with that all the time, but I do it as much as I can. And he was like, "Brother, I love that stuff a ton." And he's like, "I put it on," and he goes, "People can smell me coming from a mile away. It smells just like a structure fire." So it's been a blessing in that I am a sponsor of his podcast every week that he has it. He talks about my stuff, so it's really cool. It's absolutely dynamite. Oh, there's dynamite. Someone make fun of me last week for saying dynamite a bunch, and there I go again. All right, no big deal. So that's pretty much all the stuff, all the waxes and everything I make myself. This is not I don't do a white label. I don't buy it from somebody else and put my label on it. Everything is mixed by me. All the recipes and the ratios are done by me. I'm a one-man show. So from making the product, sticking the product, smack it up, flip it. I'm your bar none number one guy on all that stuff. And I'm doing that stuff all day. I got to put stuff together constantly, and it's a good time. It's work, and I don't have a problem with work, and it gives me something to keep my head off of things. So that's really a lot. Anybody have any questions on any of that? If not, no big deal. I could ask you guys a question. I've got a pretty gnarly firefighter story. If you guys can take severely a pretty gross story, I'll tell you a story if you guys want to hear that. If not, we can talk about modern versus legacy furniture. Any takers? Okay, I'll lay it on you. Thanks, Dakota. Okay, so I'm gonna have to get a little drink for this. I'd say in my 22 years of working, this was the worst call that I ever had. And so we had a call. So I was on the ladder truck. Of course, ladder truck. We do all the big stuff on ladder truck. Throw ladders, of course, extrications, so jaws of life, things like that. So generally, always generally, we were bigger guys were on the ladder truck. And then so when the rescue would get called out for calls that they needed somebody picked up or moved that they couldn't get moved, they would call us and we'd go out and we'd give them a hand. So sure enough, we had a night. It was probably about 6, 7 at night. And we get paged out or jammed, tapped out by the rescue. Hey, we've got a 600-pound female in a bed, and she's in distress and she needs to get moved. And so we can take her to the hospital because she's in respiratory distress. I mean, she's fighting it, but just because she's so big, yeah, absolutely, man. She's so big that she can't breathe. I mean, she's on a bed with herself elevated, and she's doing it, but we've got to get her moved. And so okay, so we get there, and there's 4 of us riding on the ladder truck, and there's 2 on the rescue, and then there's another 2. We've got a private ambulance company that does our transports. And they're there, so there's a total of 8 of us there. And generally, when the truck crew gets there, we bang our chests and we push everybody aside. We're not dicks, but we're like, okay, it's what you brought us here for. Let's figure this out. Because we do all the rope rescue, and so we got all the rigging and all that stuff. And we're like, okay, let's get going. So we go walking in, and within the first 2 steps into the doorway, a smell hit me like someone was sitting there with a bucket of shit and just tossed it in front of me. Now, I didn't literally get hit with a bucket of shit, but that's what it smelled like. And I'm like, oh my God. And now I had an iron stomach prior to this. I'm like, oh my God. So we go walking in, and in the living room, sure enough, there's a woman. She's probably 5 feet tall, 600 pounds. And she's on a medical bed. So she's actually propped up so she can breathe, but she's fighting. And again, it reeks. She's got a muumuu on, of course she does. And there are wrappers of Taco Bell and McDonald's and Burger King, just wrappers all over the ground. And we're just like, and again, the smell's hitting you. And the sight, there she is, and she's huge. She's taking up just about a whole king size bed. She's sweating profusely. Of course, she's clawing and breathing, fighting for some breath. They're giving her breathing treatment. They're trying to give her some O2 and get that on something. So we get in there and we're like, okay, what are we going to do? What's interesting is she's in the living room because she needed a big area like that. And if you walked in, let me see if I can do this here. Where the fuck did I put? Excuse my language, guys. Sorry. So if you walk in, there was the hallway, And if you walk in, there's the kitchen, hallway. Hallway took you right to the living room. Living room went around like that, and he had a bedroom on either side. So we're in the living room, TV, and then the whole Charlie side of the structure, which is the back side of the structure, was all windows. So that back living room was all windows. So we're going, okay, we got to get this woman moved out, and we're not going to be able to get her through the front door. And at least we didn't think so at the time. And so let's go ahead and make this area where this window is. We're going to make that into our door. So we're going to go get all of our gear, and we're going to try to cut it and get it open. And I don't know what's going on. And get her out. So we kind of start saying that, and then she overhears us, and she's coherent enough to say, "No," and she's, "No, no, no, don't do that, don't do that. No, 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 at least here, don't do that." And we're like, that's what she sounds like. I mean, even, sounds like Marge Simpson. All right. And so my lieutenant, I'm driving the rig at the time. I wasn't a lieutenant yet. And so he's like, okay, well, let's just try to, then let's get the bariatric stretcher in there, which is a big old stretcher, and let's get her off this bed, see if we can get her off the bed and put her on the stretcher. And we're like, okay, well, how we get, so if this is like, say this is the bed, okay, out here is out here is the door, all right, where we came in at. Here, nope, here is that windowed wall, and I choose to put myself the furthest away from the door, all right, but there's going to be a guy on every corner to try to get her going. So we're just getting ready to move her, and she starts going, Vinny, get me a box for my vagina. And we're like, what? And we all kind of look at each other and go, what are you talking about? She's like, Vinny, she's screaming this, Vinny. And I'm like, who is Vinny? And this guy comes out, and I swear to God, he was probably about 5'3", and the biggest part of his arm was his elbow. I mean, she had been eating him. She'd been probably eating everything. He didn't eat a thing for a long time. Yeah. There we go. I just cleaned this, and I think the draw has got an extra large hole in it because I just got a little stuff. But anyhow, so Vinny comes out, and she's screaming, Vinny, get the box for my vagina. And we're just, what is she talking about? Box for her vagina. What are you talking about? So, like I said, Vinny comes out, the biggest part of his arm is his elbow, and he's carrying a box. Okay, well, I guess he's got a vagina box. I don't know what that is. So at that point in time, he pulls open her moo-moo, and because she is so large, her innards, her vaginal canal and her uterus has actually prolapsed, and all of that from the inside is on the outside. And so so all you get it. So all that's on the outside. And I'm like, oh, and like I said, I had an iron gut, man, before this. And this guy takes her freaking vagina, lifts it up, and puts the box underneath it. And I'm like, oh my God, was not my big no. So at that point in time, holy shit, I am honestly starting to dry heave. I'm like, oh, and I'm doing that. And I'm like, you've got to be. I'm just going to, sorry guys about my language. I'm just going to do it. You got to be fucking kidding me. This is fucking nuts. And so my lieutenant, Steve, now funny thing about Steve was, this is a little sidebar. Steve was from England, and he was an SAS guy from England. And he was missing that part of his finger, right? So whenever he'd get pissed at me, I'd go, oh, okay, I hear you, man. You're going to count to 10, right? And then I'm going to be coming out. And I'd go, 6, 7, 7.5, and I'd go, oh, you can't get to 10, go kiss my ass. And he'd just, for you. And it was just always funny. Anyhow, um, so Steve's like, okay, well, what we're gonna do is we're gonna get on the bed. We got the bariatric stretcher there, and we're gonna actually shimmy the whole bed, and we're gonna start to roll her. We're gonna start to roll her onto this stretcher. So I'm like, all right, let's do it. So remember what I said. I was at the furthest point away from the door. And also this point in time, I was doing strongman competitions. So yeah, Vinny. So I was doing strongman competitions. So I'm 5'9". I was 270 at that point in time, and I was doing strongman. So and it just this plays into the story. That's why I'm telling you that. So I go and we're like going to do the shimmy, right? So I go to grab the top of that mattress. Now, the mattress is elevated, right? So it's fucking elevated. And I'm like, yeah, what do I got to lose here? I'm positioned in the good freaking spot. Yeah, yeah. So I go to grab that mattress and we, kind of squeezing it so we can kind of give her the shimmy. And I swear to God, boys, shit goes through my fingers, squeezes through my fingers like Play-Doh. She'd been sitting in that bed, covered in her own feces for I don't know how long, and it had seeped in and seeped up into the top of the mattress. And when I mean to the top, it went up. And dude, at that point in time, I'm like, and there's the box for the vagina. There's the freaking smell to begin with. Now I've got Play-Doh shit between my fingers. And I'm just like, oh my God. And I'm starting to lose it, right? So, but I'm like, no, I'm holding in here, man. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, nope, I'm gonna be fine. I'm perfect. So I end up, yeah, we go, okay, doing the 1 and a 2 and a 3. So 1 and a 2 and a 3. We give it the big tug. It sounds wrong in some ways. And she does the whole like this and just jiggles like a bowl of jello, and nothing happens other than something broke loose. And when I mean broke loose, either a piece of shit fell out, or she was just like it moved what she was laying on that had been laying there forever. So it was a mix of decaying flesh and feces and whatever was there, and then she was probably urinating there too, and that smell goes like this right underneath my nose. And I was like, oh shit. So I start running, and I told you how big I was. I'm literally grabbing these little medics and throwing them out of the way. And I go running outside. I get about 20 feet from the front door, and I am, yeah, that's totally nasty. It was totally nasty, Dennis. It was freaking disgusting. I said this is the worst call of my in 22 years, worst call in my career as far as grossness. And I start vomiting. And I mean, I'm letting it loose. It's uncontrollable at this point in time. And I'm in the back of my head as I'm doing it going, I'm embarrassed. Because I was always, okay, we want someone to go do it. Hey, send Chris in to go do it, send Copper in to go do it. That he'll take, he'll do it, he'll do anything, and so I'm like, hell yeah. So I'm like, oh shit. So I do one of these and whip it off my face. But I'm embarrassed at that point. I look over my right hand shoulder, and every single person in that room was outside to my right throwing up. And I was like, woo, all right. Well, I guess I was the smartest guy to get out first. And so it's like, oh my God. And everybody's just like, and my boy Dominic, like I've talked about, the DVI Bushcraft and Survival. Check him out. He was on that call with me. Hell of a guy. You guys love that guy. But so we're like, all right, everyone's projectile, they got everything taken care of. let's go get her. So we go walking back in, and I get about, what's up, you guys? What's up, brother? um, so I get about 2 or 3 steps in, and the smell hits me again. And I'm like, okay, I'm out. I literally said, guys, I'm sorry. I said, guys, I'm sorry. I can't do it. And my apologies, man. If I go in there, I'm going to throw up all over. That's the way it's going to go. So then what's funny, I tell you about I said all the guys that came out and threw up. No, not all of them. There was one guy that that stayed in the whole time, and that was the English guy, Steve. And Steve just, of course, I'm not. He comes out, and he's jawing at us, making fun of us for throwing up, saying, "Oh, you guys left me. What's going on?" I mean, he could probably eat a freaking sandwich in there. That's the kind of guy that guy was. But anyhow, I said, I'm out, man. I can't do it. So I actually backed myself out. And I mean, I'm not like that. But if I'm going to be a detriment to my crew, I can't do it. So the end of it was, of course, I don't know what happened with her vagina, but they ended up taking the king size bed and folding it around her like a giant burrito, and getting this little similar to like a chairlift you'd see, like this indoor crane, wrapped it around her, made a burrito out of her, lifted that up, and then got her on the bariatric stretcher, and then got her to St. Pete General, and she did pass. She passed later that night, but I would bet that there was, of course, all the complications due to her. And I thought this was like, yeah, no, man, it is, yeah, okay, yeah. So that was just, boys, not a fun call. And what's the worst part about that, when you do those calls, it's in your hair. I mean, the smell sticks in your hair, sticks in your uniform. So you get back, what's in the glass? The glass got the Hooten Young Jack Carr, Jack Carr, 16-year-old Hooten Young special edition. And I would put it on a scale of 1 to 10. I'll put it at a 6.5. It's okay. It's gotten better. I would have put it at about a 4 when I opened it. You're smelling that the next, yeah, you are 100%. And you throw all your gear out, not your gear, but you throw your uniform. I mean, you're like, boy, I can't do this. I can't. You smell it. I got another similar story like that that happened when I was doing investigations. So when we get investigations, well, I told you I was, of course, a FD investigator, so I didn't have arrest powers. And so when there was a fatality, what? I should make a balm, dude. What would I call that stuff if I made a beard balm in that smell? What would be Vinny's vagina? Kind of catchy, huh? GI bleed. Oh, brother. GI bleeds are the worst, man. C. diff, is that right? C. diff, is that it? Oh, dude, that's it. But we had anytime there's a fatality on a fire, of course, we got to call PD out, and then we do the investigation together, and then it becomes just by the sake of a fatality happening in a fire. It's a homicide investigation, I guess you would call it. But they do an investigation to determine if it's homicide. They just can't leave it be. So we got called out, or I got called out to the autopsy. So there was a fire, of course. This old man died in a fire. And actually, I remember when I pulled up to the investigation, they were squishing and blowing on him when he was going. So they were doing CPR, and he was on his way. I mean, he was dead, so they're trying to revive him. But so I go to the Pinellas County, name it S&P. S&P. Don't we all have that smell. Bad GI bleeds, Brian. They're the worst. But I get to the medical examiner's office, and the homicide detective shows up, and we're friends. You know, we've done some work together. And he's like, "Brother, you ready for this?" I'm like, "Man," I've seen, you know, of course it's his, but I've been around Vinny's vagina, and nothing's gonna bother me, you know. And he's like, "You sure?" Because we call this was the Largo Medical Examiners, and he's like, "We call this place House of Horrors." And I'm like, "Well, that's, you know," in my mind, and I'm trying to be like, "Oh man, I'm a freaking fireman. What are you talking about? I've got this, no problem." Inside, I'm going, "Oh shit." And like I told you from that call, I was not in a good spot as far as my stomach went for stuff like that. Anyhow, we get there, and we get buzzed in, and we're going back to the autopsy area, and it's just basically a giant chiller. It's a gigantic chiller. I open up the door, and I'm the first one in, and they've got this big blast of air that hits you. I'm not exactly sure why, but that blast of air hits me. And number one, even though it's freezing cold in there, the smell of death was just, again, like a guy with a bucket of shit just getting ready to throw it in my face. And I'm like, "Oh no." And I look to my left, and there's literally a guy dead with his chest, you know, like an autopsy, got his ribs open, and there's his heart and everything completely open. I do that to the left. I see that. I go to the right, and they had just pulled they just brought in a body that was pulled out of one of the lakes. So on my right was a decomposing body with maggots and everything. And I saw that, and I literally went, "Nope, I'm out." And I just walked out, embarrassed, but I'm like, I can't do it. But what they were trying to, just so you guys realize what they're trying to determine with the if figuring it was to pursue a homicide investigation, was if the guy had soot in his throat and his lungs, then the fire killed him, or the smoke killed him. If the guy did not have soot in, if he was clean airway and clear lungs, then they might have, they had the reason to reasonable to say, hey, he died prior to the fire, and possibly the fire was put in play to, always an adventure, brother. So they could surmise that there was no soot or stuff in the throat and lungs, and they could surmise that somebody was burning the house to burn the body. But I didn't get to see the autopsy because it was absolutely disgusting, and I can't do that anymore. So, but just so you guys know, it ended up that he did have soot in his lungs and in his throat, so that he died from smoke inhalation. And he actually died, even though they do have cigarettes protect, they've got a certain amount of flare up with cigarettes where you can drop them and they shouldn't light things off. But he had some very crappy furniture and things like that, furniture that we talked about. And so he fell asleep smoking a cigarette, and the cigarette lit his recliner on fire. And that's how he met his end. Yeah. If you're going to go, that's a good way to do it. You know? Yeah, I'm not. This is only like the third time I smoked this pipe. And I swear to God, it gets plugged. Because I've been really, I always had the habit of overpacking, and I've gotten away from that. I'm doing a really good job not doing that. What I'm seeing here is now whenever this is, like I said, third time I smoked it, and the vent hole gets plugged with anything. Well, I really shouldn't if I packed it right, but I'm getting actually 0 draw from this. That's a shame. I like this pipe too. I like the look of the pipe. So that is 2 stories that were pretty disgusting in my career. I got more, but could kind of save those. I mean, I've got dozens, so I guess I can go on for forever. But did you guys happen to watch that the video I did with the modern versus legacy furniture? Any of that? Basically going on about how quickly modern furniture put a pipe cleaner down the stem. Yeah, I don't have one with me. I can just forego. Maybe I'll just drink more bourbon and I'll be happy right now. But I just did clean it before I came on, and I just thanks, B. I guess we're just going to leave that be. But yeah, boys. Well, cool. Well, I'll open it up for anything. If you guys want to ask me a question, or we can just chew the fat, I can just keep talking. I do want to say that, you guys have just been, this has been a better experience than what I expected. And even the YouTube, everything about this has just been really good. And it's heartfelt, boys, that I really appreciate you guys. And I really, I'm enjoying doing this. And how's your chops on the guitar? It's, I got my other guitar in here. This is my, I have to start. I got to start playing again. I haven't been playing much. I haven't been playing at all. I've been playing at all. Screw that. It's like last week when we were on here. Yeah, you think so? Maybe I'll pick it up, and next week I will do a song. I don't know if I can sing yet, but it's kind of once the bug bites you, live with the sting. Great way to enjoy relaxation. That's right, man. You got a guitar problem too, Brian? No doubt. Actually, it's out of tune. I really want to. I should start. You should. That would be enjoyable. Okay. You know what I'll do? I'll work on a song for next week. Something I've been playing. Something maybe that I have played for a while, just so I don't have to. So I know I got it down. Yeah, man, I can do that. With some of my influences, actually, there's a guy I really like finger picking and folk music. Um, what about your BRKY? BRKY. I'm sorry, buddy. BRKY. I don't know what that is, buddy. Mm. But as far as my influences with guitar, I'm a big folk music guy. There's a fella that I really really like that not a lot of people know about. His name is John Moreland, and the guy is not much to look at, but his voice is just like incredible, and his style is exactly what I like. John Moreland, of course, old Hank Williams Jr. Actually, Waylon Jennings a big thing for me as well. And what is that? There's one guy that I can't remember his name right now, but I love his music. Um, and John Prine, that's another guy. If you've heard of John Prine, um, B Row, is that? I think I know who that is. He's from California. Dark hair. Oh, you ever heard of the White Buffalo? That guy's pretty good. I like him too. Influences. It's weird. Everyone from Alex Lee's Life's Lesson to Brent Mason. I got a gig with musicians from the TV show Hee Haw, having never done a country gig in my life. Really? How cool is that, man? I really need to get better. I got a friend of mine. You guys should check him out. He's a professional, but he's been a solo. He and his wife actually. Um, John Prine is awesome. Check out a guy. He's a close friend of mine named Paul Cataldo. The guy is he's been touring for 14 years. He's like 42 right now, and he's thinking about hanging it up. And just because he's been going all over the place for most of his life, and he and his wife want to settle down. But that guy's a folk singer, and dude, that guy is. I don't know. I just love his music, man. He's absolutely incredible. And I'm trying to figure out this one. What's that guy's name? Blaze Foley. Blaze Foley is one of my absolute 100% favorites. If you know anything about Blaze, but cool. He's in the chat. B Row. Oh, B Row's in the chat. Well, there's a. Okay. Oh, good Lord. I'm sorry. Pork chop. Porch. I said pork chop. My favorite John Prine song is Nice. I'm big fan of his, man. Absolutely love it. Well, you guys, I've been playing for about 9 years, coming up on 10. And I used to play every single day. And my goal was when I was going to retire, the way I was going to make my money was to gig. And um, weirdest thing is I public speak. I was a teacher. I don't have a problem being up in front of people. And then I met my buddy Paul, and Paul's like, "All right, buddy, let's start doing. You can come up." And Paul wanted me to start playing his set breaks, and he's like, "Man, here's the date. Here's when we're going to start. At least do one set break." And I don't know what it is. I'm just going to be honest, man. I was deathly afraid, and it's unlike me to be that way. And I don't know if it's the vulnerability, but I have been unable to move that next step. And I think part of it is I'd love a trainer, someone to really sit down and take me to point A to point B and point C. And I was hoping Paul was going to be able to do that, but Paul's busy. He doesn't have the time to sit down and prepare somebody for that. Alan Hinn. Okay, Alan Hines. All right. Okay, fantastic. I'll check him out. But I ended up getting ready for his for that, and that was going to be my debut. And I kept on getting more nervous and more scared, more nervous and more scared. But I was training my ass off the way I normally do if I'm going to be put in a situation like that. And that was last June, and Paul ended up getting really sick, and he couldn't gig that night, and I didn't have a book to do. Like, I've got 20 songs maybe, but I couldn't do a 3-hour show, and I'd never done that before, so I was shitting my pants. And long story short, I after that, and it didn't turn out. I was so disappointed with myself and the fear that I just, and this is unlike me, boys, but I just kind of quit playing for a little bit. And I have not really picked it up. Maybe in like September of last year, I started up again, and then it just kind of fell by the wayside. And then here we are now. So I think it is a very good opportunity for me to start playing again. If you guys, that's what you want. I mean, I'm no pro by any means, but you don't have to be. But that's it. You put this up. You guys are the best. All right. Well, boys, that's you got to see the origins of OldManCopper. Here's some songs, or here's some stories about vaginas and medical examiners. I got to talk a little bit about some bourbon and hear me play the guitar terribly, but I think it's been a good night. So I want to say to you guys, I care about y'all, and I really appreciate you showing up. I'm going to be on again next week. I'm going to try to do this every Wednesday. I know I'll be on next week. The following week, I've got that blacksmith class, and then I'm going to Tennessee to scout for some property. And hey, have a good one, Dakota. And thank you, Brian, for coming out, man. And so anyhow, I'll keep you guys posted. We'll talk about some stuff next week. And thanks, Porch. And yeah, man, I'm so happy to be here, Porch. I really appreciate it, man. And you guys hit me up, and we'll. Hey, who's going to Muletown? I'm going to go to Muletown next year. I didn't even know about it. Anyhow, we'll talk about that next week. All right, boys. Have a great night, and thank you for everything. Love y'all. Thanks for having. I'm going to cut it here. All right. Be safe, boys. Have a good one, Dakota, Brian, Porch, Tom, Dave. Sir.